I've been sitting for the last 2 or 3 days watching old um, programs from. I've been watching on YouTube old programs from TV. A Year in Tuscany, um, and the program after that in Italy, which I can't remember. And then I started watching the chef French Leave. Oh God, I had to stop watching that because it was very contrived. I think very oppressive man, but maybe that was for the TV. And I've just started watching Nigel and oh God, what's his name? I can't remember. His Indian friend guy that start looking for somewhere to live in France, um, and just reminding myself of the things that I used to watch that obviously started to feed my very deep and hidden desire to live in France. Um, the th- sort of the change for me, the change in thinking that I'd love to be able to move and live abroad, was being in Spain and reading Driving Over Lemons by Chris somebody. It might have been Chris Stewart. Um, Reading that and staying with our friend who'd moved out there to live with her partner, then husband, and not believing that we could do this, not believing that that we could afford to do this. Our friends, were quite well off, and he had a import and export business which he could run from. He was exporting stuff from Spain anyway, so it was just for them it was a change of venue, I suppose. And but then reading Driving Over Lemons and seeing the bottom end of that, about um, buying something really cheap and living some really difficult situations, um, but still really not imagining that we could do that. And it's quite interesting watching all these old programs from the early 2000s, I guess, um, which is before we came. I mean, we came in 2006. Um, and I can remember we sat watching Rick Stein on the MIDI canal. So we would watch and we were feeding ourselves all of these sort of exotic programs in the run up to moving here. And it was just, yeah, but I haven't watched or looked at anything like that for ages because I actually live here and don't need to watch programs like that. But I'm just sort of entertaining myself at the moment, rewatching, and sort of sometimes my bottom jaw drops because I see that people are coming over and doing the whole expat, um, speaking really poor French and speaking in English to people and expecting them to respond, and it sort of makes me feel really angry. I mean, I know when I got here, my French was not as good as I thought it was. In fact, it was pretty crap. But it was a bit of a shock actually to discover, oh, that's odd. I don't understand any of that. But I tried and I would speak in French. If we walked into a shop, we would speak in French. And what we found was the French people wanted to speak English to us, and that really complicated things. Um, it's less so now. I don't struggle with it so much, but when we were first here and we'd start off in French, and obviously it was obvious to the French person we were English, they would speak to us in English because they want to practice their English, but I couldn't compute the two languages in my head. So it completely confused me. I just couldn't manage the two. And I can now. When I went to see the podologue on Monday, and we did French and English and franglais, I think people call it, and I can manage that now, but I couldn't before. But yes, I'm a bit astonished at people making such a big change in their lives. and moving to a country where they don't really speak the language. And what I'm picking up is that some of them don't even understand the culture or have any idea about French culture. They just want, this is years ago, might have changed now, but they just want somewhere, a cheap place to live in the sun, a cheap place to have as a holiday home. And I think there's probably still people coming and doing that. You know, they want a holiday home in France. They don't really want to embrace France. They don't want to integrate. And that wasn't why we came. And people come, you know, a lot of people sort of say, oh, you know, great, the wine's cheap. Well, we didn't come for that. We don't really drink much. In fact, when I did the meal for Jan Jerome last week, I went and bought a little bit more of the things I needed on Sunday morning in Leclerc, and didn't even think about buying wine, and I hadn't got any wine, and Jerome's French, and tough. And I said, anyway, you're driving to Switzerland later, you can't be drinking. But yeah, I don't even think about buying wine for a Sunday meal. So that's not very integrated, is it? So yeah, I've been watching that. It's a wet day. The cat's just come in and screamed at me. And she screams at me to let me know she's wet. I go and get a towel to dry her, as you would a dog, and she doesn't like it. But I think she does. But she puts up a bit of a fight. So we have a bit of a fight and I dry her. So it's wet. It's meant to be like this most of the day. We had both had our flu jabs yesterday, and I had, in the other arm, I had tetanus, diphtheria and polio. I don't know why my doctor decided I might like to have that and didn't offer it to Mark. Not really sure about that. I must ask him. I'm going to see him on Monday about these, the thirst that has been resolved because I don't take the blood pressure tablets at the moment, but I need another lot of blood pressure tablets. So yes, I'm going to carry on watching. Is it John and Nigel and Nippy? It might be Nigel and Nippy. I'm going to carry on watching that until it's too excruciating, and then I'll find something else. So what fed me at the beginning, and this is way back in 2001, was driving over lemons. What is it that you, what's motivated you or inspired you or fed you or made you want to make that move from wherever you're coming from to France? I really like to know, you know, and I'm also thinking that there are some of you who have subscribed. It just astonishes me that people subscribe to this, because I just, you know, doing my thing. If you've subscribed because you want to move to France and you have specific questions, I think what I'd like to do, maybe in a week's time, is do a Q&A. So if you've put your questions under this vlog, don't put them anywhere else, because otherwise it's difficult for me to collate them. Put your questions underneath here, and maybe in a week's time I'll do a quick Q&A and answer them. But I would really like, two things I'd like to know. One is, why do you want to move to France? What's your thing? Not really good with words, am I? That's because I'm 66. I know that I'm pretty sure I'm not dementing. My mum had dementia, so I know the difference. I'm 66 and I take steroids, and that really can't use, I want to use a word, but it really fucks your brain up. I'm not on such a high level of steroids now, so it's probably better than it used to be, but I think as you get older you lose words anyway, so quite often I'm sitting here talking to you and it's like I want to say something and completely lose the word that I'm looking for. And I think, you know, the harder you try, the worse it is. So and I can't even remember now what it was that made me tell you that bit. So yeah, I know what it is. It's like, I can't, what's inspiring you to move to France? And also, why are you subscribed? That really intrigues me. Why are you subscribed? I really can't quite get my head around that. Anyway, have a nice day. I hope your Saturday's not as damp and cold as mine is, and see you next time.